Hi, and welcome back to Icon's YouTube channel. Today we have something different for you. We're going to be talking about E1 SmartConnect. SmartConnect is an integration tool that has become a key component of our toolbox to help customers implement all sorts of integrations from external systems, operational systems to their core ERP, whatever that is, whether it's Dynamics GP or Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central or any other sort of system. SmartConnect is built by the people from E1 Solutions. They've been an ISV for the past 20 years in the Dynamics GP space and have been working for the last few years as well in the Business Central. They have all sorts of interesting tools that you should take a look at. But today we're going to focus on SmartConnect. Again, in its core, it's an integration tool, but in reality, it's so much more than that. It is not limited to these ERPs. It's really a tool that I can read data from anywhere and put it anywhere, basically, as long as the source and destination support it in terms of data connections and so on. You're able to move data back and forth. So it's really very, very useful tool. So today, I'm not going to go into all of the details, but I'm going to give you an overview of what SmartConnect can do and also show you a couple of examples for you to take home. So SmartConnect is really, as I said, an integration tool. We have here different integrations that I have for demo purposes. But I'm going to take you back to the building blocks of these integrations. So we start with the connections. And really, this is where you want to connect to, either to pull or push data. So connectors are used to say, to determine where the data is going to go or where you're going to take data from. So we have a number of possibilities here. We can connect to OData connectors, SOAP connectors. We can go directly to certain systems like Dynamics GP or CRM, FTP servers, you name it, SQL, ODBC. You can really connect to anything. When you're connecting to each one of these sources, the system knows kind of the protocols and the formatting to use to talk to these things. For example, if you talk to Dynamics GP, you're going to be going through their eConnect connectors. If you talk to Business Central, you're going to be going through their OData web services, which should be published on Business Central. If you go to SQL, of course, well, you're connecting directly to SQL. And again, you'll be able to pull or push data from any SQL table or database that you can actually reach. So that's the first step there. We have here connectors, for example, to Dynamics GP and also Business Central that we're going to be looking at. The next step is to define your data sources. And a data source really is a means of using a connection to pull data. And here's where you specify the type of data you're pulling and which form it takes. So for example, I'm looking at an Excel data source here, and that Excel data source is going to be pulling data from a certain directory in my network, and from a specific sheet on that Excel file, and I can preview that data to see that I can connect and that it's working. You also have other types of connectors in here. For example, I can have a GP query. And I can actually, validate that query and know that I'm connecting through this Dynamics GP connection and actually pulling data with this SQL query that I built. So there's many ways that you can create data sources to pull data, and this is where you do what you do here. I'm going to show you a couple of examples, simple examples, obviously, but we have done many complicated integrations for customers. The next step is to create your actual integration maps. So the integration maps is where everything is put together. So if I look at my PO import, for example, from Excel, this is an integration map that I'll be able to look at that file folder from that data source. I can preview that data again here, and I can actually tell the system, this is where I'm coming from, this is where I'm going. And in this case, I'm going into Dynamics GP, which is, again, one of my destinations that I can pick, and all the specs are here. We can also designate the destination as normal or file. Sometimes if you want to see what's happening to test the integration before you actually send it to the destination system, you can actually pick file, and it will generate XML files with the data that's going to be sent to the to GP in this case before you even send it. It's really cool. Then at the bottom here we have all of the different nodes that you can connect to in Dynamics GP for purchase orders. You can actually disable, enable nodes. You can actually create nodes. There is a node builder application that E1 sells you that can be used to create nodes to new things that you don't have an eConnect node for example. One detail here is the companies. You can actually push the data into multiple companies at the same time if you wanted to, which is might be really useful if you want to maintain like a production and test system synchronized, for example. So in this case, I'm going to just go ahead and take these POs and actually push them into GP. And there's two main nodes that I'm using here. I'm going to be using the header node or just a PO header. I can see the different fields on my data source on the left, and I'm going to map them here to wherever, to the different GP PO fields that are available. So as soon as I push, map this fields, I'll be able to run this integration, and the fields from the source are going to go to the right place. There's all sorts of things we can do here. We can do calculated fields. We can do SQL lookups, translations. So if you have something that needs a translation table, you can actually build that translation table inside SmartConnect, or you can use a SQL base and just do a lookup. And also you can do a calculated, which actually allows you to use BV script and a bunch of functions to create whatever calculation or whatever calculation you need, and then map that calculation to the field that needs to be there. So there's a lot of things that you can do here in terms of mapping. Very versatile. So the other node that I'm using here is the line. This is the line item, and something I didn't show you, but on the header, I'm actually grouping by the PO number that's coming in, so that when I preview this, I really have two POs. I'm going to show you that file here so you can see what I mean. So this Excel file actually has 7 lines, one PO with 4 lines, and one PO with 3 lines. But for the purposes of the header, it's really only 2 POs. And that's exactly what you're seeing here when I group the data source for this node. On the line, I'm not grouping, or I should say I'm grouping by the line. So when I preview, I see the same data set, but for the lines. So I'm going to go ahead and click run. And there you go. It is that fast. It is extremely fast. And I'm going to show you another example so you know what I mean. So it's already there. So if I go to GP and I go to purchasing and I go to my PO, and I'm going to look up purchase orders number 62 and 63. So I'm going to go in there. Here's 62, 4 lines, 63, 3 lines. It is as easy as that. The other example I want to show you is will bring me to other topics, powerful topics in SmartConnect. I'm going to go ahead and import vendors, and the vendor file I have for you as an example, it's really not that big, right? It's only 5 vendors. And I'm going to go ahead and import those 5 vendors for you. Again, it's a map. In this case, it's a text file. It's not an Excel file. And I can go ahead and run this integration. Now, I don't have to open it to run it. I can run it from here. I can schedule the run, which is extremely useful. So you can actually set up schedule for the, I don't have any here, but you can set up the schedules for the integration maps to run whatever intervals you want to run them at. There is a service, Windows service that is set up with SmartConnect and will handle those schedules for you. And this doesn't, you don't have to use the interface. It will run logged off on the server by itself, which is really important. So I'm going to go in and run this vendors integration, and I'm going to run it now. And it is that quick. 5 vendors were created as we speak. So I'm gonna challenge it at this point, and I'm gonna basically take this vendor file, and I'm going to rename it as small. And then I'm going to rename this one as the vendors. And again, I'm doing this manually, but in reality, there's so many ways to do this. Now, this file is a little bit bigger than the other one. This file actually has around 2,000 vendors, which we'll see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and run this. And it's actually 2,500 vendors, and it is that quick. I mean, this is really is running on my demo machine. There's nothing fancy about it. It's a virtual machine actually running on my laptop, so you can imagine. So this is how quick these vendors are being integrated, and it is actually respecting the business rules. It's using eConnect, and this is how quick it's doing things. And again, I can show you all these vendors here that were just created in Dynamics GP. So these are all of these vendors. Look at that right there. So pretty quick, pretty good. So there's many things in there in terms of importing data to GP. But it's not only GP. Again, I said destinations and sources can be anything. I'm going to do exactly the same integration with Business Central at this point. So you can see it works the same way. So I'm going to go into my BC environment, and I'm going to go to my vendors, and here are my vendors that exist right now. And I'm going to go into SmartConnect. I'm going to run the same integration. I'm going to run the small version of it, and I'm going to go ahead and run it. And basically I have 5 vendors, and you can see it wasn't quite as fast as Dynamics GP, but the reason is obvious. My Dynamics GP database is local in SQL here, whereas Business Central, as you know, it's a cloud ERP. So it's actually pushing the data up there to Azure. And I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to go refresh my vendor list. And you're going to see all the new vendors that popped up. All right, so there are my different vendors with the small numbers. So as you can see, it's pretty quick anyway. And it will import any sort of document that Business Central supports, as well as GP. So it's pretty quick. And with that, let's just wrap up. I hope you learned something interesting today. If you have any questions about SmartConnect, by all means, contact us through our website, www.iconsa.net, or reach out to me at tgarcia@iconbc.net. And we'll be more than glad to discuss your integration needs. And until the next time, be safe.